Okay, class, we've made it to the final unit in our summer course. And although from the beginning we've been working within an organizational context, as you've been on a committee task force to make a big decision and solve a problem for a large organization, we'll talk about some more specifically organizational communication concepts in this last bit, and we'll just try to tie everything together. You've seen, if you've taken this class or taken it one-on-one for me, you've heard the term culture a lot. That's cultures exist in organizations, including vocabulary, stories, rites, rituals, structures, and rules. And we're going to conclude, as often is the case, we're going to get some practical tips on how to handle these particular contexts. And one of the big lessons of working in an organization, doing all the hard work you do, whether it's in a group or individually, is to keep a balance, right? Really important. Much of what you've learned relating to groups and communication in general applies to communication in organizations. For instance, successful communication on the job requires listening skills, caring-making attributions, and checking perceptions, verbal and nonverbal competence, awareness of and adaptation to differences among people, and the abilities to build supportive climates and manage conflict. So I suspect it's true in many disciplines, but you're going to just be hearing a lot of recurring themes, and that is certainly true with this course and many of the courses in the communication discipline. And the rules that you abide one-on-one and interpersonally also apply to group settings and in a larger context, the organizations as well. Something else that you've heard often, and especially so for this course and doing the group project, is the importance of structure, right? You have to have structure. You have to have agreement about who's going to do what, when you're going to meet, how you're going to meet, how you're going to make decisions, etc. Without that, it's really difficult to get stuff done. So within an organization, the same rules apply. You're gonna play particular roles within that organization. You're gonna follow procedures, hopefully, or else you'll probably not be at that organization long if you don't follow procedures. You're gonna have expectations. You're getting paid now, and all of you folks, some of you are closer to it than others. It'd be nice to get it. You get your first really nice paycheck in your professional jobs. And hierarchy and power are certainly at play in differing degrees in organizations. Obviously, some organizations are much more hierarchical than others. There's just definition of organizational culture, values, behaviors, practices, and forms of communication that are shared by members of an organization that reflect an organization's identity. For participation, tell me what you believe Albion's organizational culture is. And I should say that absolutely, the culture of the college should inform and drive and guide the decisions you make about the scholastic academic setup for the fall, right? That's something that should be a big part of your decision. You can go ahead and read through this. I'm not going to read the entire text. Again, organizations have their own particular cultures. And again, Albion's always had a particular culture. How can we maintain that culture, which is a draw for a lot of students, including you, in the face of that it's not going to be exactly how it was last year? It's a tough question, and that's why this project that you've been given is difficult. What do you think creates, sustains, and expresses culture? Communication, of course. Organizations practice communication in many forms. There's vocabularies some organizations have. Some organizations have more masculine vocabularies. Organizations have stories, including our college, rites and rituals, and structures, as we noted before. Apologize for some of the text that is covering this slide. If you've taken 101, you've seen this before. Organizations have rites, which are verbal and nonverbal practices that express and reproduce organizational culture, and there's rites of passage as well. And unfortunately, this is something that we all kind of missed out on at the last part of the year, right? There were no kind of graduation parties or picnics with family, etc. And of course, graduation was much different. So it was, I recall those times very fondly. So I feel for you folks who missed that. That's very difficult. Rituals are forms of communication that occur regularly and that members of an organization perceive as familiar and routine parts of organizational life. Rituals differ from rites in that rituals don't necessarily bring together a number of aspects of organizational ideology into a single event. Rather, rituals are repeated communication performances that express a particular value or role definition. What gives organization structures? Again, roles. You've heard that a lot within the small group context, that everybody doesn't play the same role. That wouldn't work. That'd be a big mishmash. You have to match people to their talents and desires to get things done. Many of those roles in the professional setting are defined in job descriptions. Rules are both formal and informal. They could be something that's in a contract or like a job offer or job description, or they just be norms. Norms, again, are not written down or necessarily stated. They're just understood. But don't get the wrong idea that norms don't enforce behavior and help organizations develop structure, because they absolutely do. And policies are formal statements of practice. And you're going to find something like that in an employee handbook. It's interesting. I wonder how many people actually read the employee handbook. So these things are usually a couple hundred pages long, but it's important stuff to know. But it'd be interesting to find out who actually has read through that. Not a bad thing to have on hand, though, in case you need it. And this is what's called an organizational chart, or an org chart for short. This affects communication. This is, again, some organizations are more hierarchical than others. Some organizations are flatter. Academic organizations are flatter than corporations, right? You have a president at the top, but president doesn't necessarily lord over the faculty, and absolutely would be a bad idea. So this affects how organizations communicate. And so, as part of a committee on this task force for your project, you want to try to get buy-in and hear the voices of as many people as you can, right? Academic organizations are very democratic, so you don't want to ignore that. So that makes the task even more difficult. You're not going to make everybody happy with the decision you make, but you definitely want to take that into account and talk to as many people as you can. Do some surveys, whatever, to find out what people would like to do and what they would suggest too. Should be part of the research. And then to end here, and let me just say that I will be talking to those of you who have graduated or about to graduate, and others if you're not quite there yet. We'll do that at a later point. It's part of the job to help you with your professional career, so I'd be glad to be a reference or perhaps even write a letter of recommendation. So ask me about that. I'd be glad to do that. And I think the big one on this particular slide is make sure to balance work and life. A lot of people take a lot of pride in what they do professionally, and that's it's a wonderful thing. But it can also go too far, and you want to, if you can find the best situation, there's a balance. You're going to work hard, but you're also going to have your life outside of work. Okay, and that is going to conclude the lecture videos.